Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, August 9th. Welcome to our first council meeting of August. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
See, I'm wearing a mask at this.
Madam Clerk, can I have roll call, please?
Councilmember James?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Here.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Here.
Councilmember Polika?
Here.
Mayor Piana?
Here. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May and seconded by Councilwoman James. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. Next up is electronic meeting procedures. We're status quo until the end of the year. We have hybrid meetings, people calling or doing public comment over Zoom and in person with council. And I just wanted to say that you see half our council wearing masks and half the audience wearing masks. And I support everybody's individual choice to do what is right for them based off of where they are with their family and friends. But I am worried about the Delta variant. I'm paying very close attention to the news, and cases are going back up again in Oakland County. We were at 27 at the end of July of cases in our zip code. Cases of 27, and we're going up again, and Oakland County is rising again. So pay attention to the Oakland County COVID tracker because we're not out of the woods yet. Okay, presentation. First up, Fire Department Officer Promotions. Come on down. Chief Robinson.
You're welcome to come up behind him. So tonight we're just going to do things maybe a little different than what you are used to, but I do want to recognize I have two new officers, and I think it's important to present them to you as council and to the city. So Captain Schwal, who's behind me, was lieutenant when I hired on, and he is a workhorse. He is a phenomenal asset to our fire department and the city. He gives 100%. He goes above and beyond, and he truly cares about his job, the people that work for our fire department in this community. He regularly volunteers on the job and off the job and gives his free time to organizations such as Team Guts. So he truly does have a lot of compassion and care for people. So I'm honored, and he's going to do a phenomenal job as our new captain. And he will be running our EMS training, the EMS side of things, leading that up, and he will be phenomenal leadership to move that forward. Captain Schwal, congratulations. Our other new officer cannot be here tonight because he's at football practice with his son. So he's engaged in service that way. And that goes to say a lot about the people we have working for our Ferndale Fire Department. That family truly is important to them. But I can say all the same things for him. He was Sergeant Bacali when I hired on. He quickly demonstrated his hard work, determination, comes to work, also gives 100%. Goes above and beyond, really cares about health and wellness for our firefighters, really tries to drive forward initiatives that really protects health and wellness of our men and women, and also donates his time on the job and off the job for things such as Team Guts and some other community events. So again, he's not able to be here, but I think it's important to recognize him as our new Lieutenant, Miles Bracali.
Congratulations.
And we're not doing any pinnings tonight because I'm doing kind of like a very personalized thing at the fire station with their family, which is what we used to do, and I'm bringing that down here. So we're going to be doing that later this week where their family gets to be involved in putting all their new brass and jewelry on them.
Thank you very much, Chief. Congratulations to everyone. All right, next up is our second presentation, 5B, update by our Oakland County Commissioner, Charlie Cavell. It's good to see you, Commissioner. And thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, appreciate you. Last time I showed up, I made a comment about shorts, so now I guess I'll make a comment about pants.
You have to wear them?
Yeah. So hello again, and as you were saying, Mayor, I'll give an update in kind of three parts real quick for everybody. First, COVID. Second, ARP. Third, county business. So first, about COVID, to what you were saying, Mayor Piana, you were right. Everyone should be going to the OakGov website and seeing how the COVID Delta variant is tracking, because what we know is at our lowest point about a month ago, we had 7 cases of COVID that are confirmed, and now we have 118 cases of COVID countywide on a 7-day rolling average. So that doesn't mean there are 118 cases. That means over the course of 7 days, that is the average new cases. Second, we went from around July 4th having 1.9% positive test ratings from all the health systems and OakGov Health Department confirming 1.9% positivity to now having 5.3% positivity. And what you've heard from the CDC director, that this is a thing that if you're vaccinated, you will get sick and you can transmit it to other people, but you will not go to the hospital and things will work out for you more than likely not. But that then means that for those of you who are not vaccinated, this is now becoming a very real, very scary pandemic for you, because this is as contagious as chickenpox. And if we look at the numbers on the COVID website for Oakland County, there have been 101,000 people who've gotten COVID and 2,000 people who've died. So that's, do the math, it's 2% chance. So to that end, if you have questions, concerns, comments, I would love to put you in touch with the health director who has an MD. We'd love to put you in touch with the health officer who has an MD. We'd love to put you in touch with all the nurses, anyone you want to talk to about the efficacy of the vaccine. Second, talking about ARP, we've started at the county because we have $244 million. We've started, that's the out of the $1.9 trillion from Joe Biden, the ARP, American Rescue Plan. Oakland County received $244 million. So we've broken down into 5 different work groups to try and figure out what we would want to do based on the county commission's priorities to spend that money to improve the quality of life of Oakland County residents. So first, housing. Second, infrastructure. Third, mental health. Fourth, childcare. And fifth, for you, transit. So if you have any input or advice to offer, please give it, whether you're elected or just a resident. Last thing, normal county business. We're in the midst of wrapping up the budget. So if you have amendments that you'd like to make, if you've combed over the 873-page budget and you say this line item's wrong or it should be different, we'd love to hear your advice there about what we should amend in the budget. And we passed body cameras with the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. And remember, Oakland County Sheriff is not only the policing agency for Oakland County campus or Oakland County Jail, but also for 400 and some thousand people in a dozen communities in northern and western Oakland County. So that's a big deal. And then the last thing, which I think is apropos of tonight, is the Landlord Risk Mitigation Fund was also passed by the County Commission, which is part 2 of the Oakland County Fair Housing Initiative, which was launched right here in Ferndale. So there's the source of income discrimination protections, and then to bookend that to help landlords is the Landlord Risk Mitigation Fund, which was passed on Thursday. And so the last thing, call to action. If anyone has ideas about the budget or would like to offer amendments to the budget or wants to talk about how the county budget works, would love to educate or learn and listen from you. And then second, ARP, if you have thoughts about the work groups, or because this is a public forum, if you want to be engaged in the work groups or have advice or want to participate, please reach out because I'd love to have you. That's the update.
Thank you.
If I may, through the chair. Commissioner, have we noticed, or have you noticed an increase in the numbers regarding individuals who received the vaccine now? Are those numbers going up?
Oh, I do not know. Great question. I will find out.
And then finally, I'll take you up on your offer to meet on a variety of things, but more on transit,
Okay, cool. I was hoping you'd say that.
Woodward, lots of things. But we'll schedule individually.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Great to see you. All right, next up is 5C, presentation of the July Beautification Awards, and I bet Robin is presenting tonight. Is that true?
Hello there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just wondering if you had, there you are. Oh, you're behind us, sorry.
Sorry, I'm having to do this from afar, but yes, if you would allow me to share my screen. There we go.
While you do that, the AV room, can you turn up the speaker in the chambers, the overhead speakers by chance, so we can hear? I'm having trouble hearing.
I am too.
It's a little low.
So are we ready?
That's why they turned down.
Yeah. We're good to go, Robin. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Well, we're just a week or so delayed in presenting our July Beautification Awards. We had a tie in one of the quadrants, and it took us a moment or two to get everybody together on getting the tie broken. So I'll go ahead and give the results now. In the southeast quadrant, 313 University is a new build in the area that used to be the school there. And it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, built in 2018. So it's just a baby. They're really showing some progress in developing their yard. And one of the other things that you have to see there is they're also having to deal with all of that lovely utilities things in their front yard. So, you know, with a little bit of ingenuity and some creative contemporary sculpture, they may actually pull it off.
Congratulations.
I'm not really sure who the owner was. I believe it's David Hopp of that, the 313 University. I was not sure how to read some of the tax records in my rush to pull the names this afternoon. Southwest Winners, 396 West Chesterfield. It's a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath built back in 1940, cute little ranch. And they have a wonderful vegetable garden growing right there in the property. I believe the owner of this property is named Pedro Zamora. I'm not quite sure if that's accurate, but that's at least what the tax records say. The northeast winner is 300 East Maplehurst. It is a cute little bungalow built in 1925. I believe the owner's name is Court Smoots. They've done a really great job of taking a home built in 1925 and cleaning it up a little bit, making it look more so fresh and new. I love the way that they did the landscape grasses in the front, and they're even sporting their historic sign there by their front railing. So awesome job, folks. You did a wonderful, wonderful thing with this house. In the Northwest, we have 619 West Maplehurst. Now, this is one of the original Sears catalog homes that you could buy out of a catalog. It's called the Beaumont. It's a Tudor colonial, and I believe it's owned by Kenneth and Susan Cleary. 3-bedroom, built back in 1930. We just think it has a great use of color, not just on the house, but the way they also incorporated it all the way into the plantings they have around the house. That window box is, forgive the phrase, to die for, with all those wonderful coleus varieties. It really, really plays up all of the wonderful color that they have added to the home itself. So great job, guys. That was really, really beautiful. For the coneflower, as you know, in August or July, we select a coneflower winner because coneflower is the official city flower for Ferndale. This particular lot is 2605 Highland, and according to the tax records, it belongs to a Julia Brennan. And she has got coneflowers out the woo-woo, it looks like, all sides, because it is absolutely fabulous. That was a technical term, by the way. Also, our commercial property nominee and winner is Drifter Coffee, which is at 770 Woodward Heights. I believe Aaliyah Webb is the owner because on their website, she is listed as the head honcho. So to me, that would imply that she is the owner. It's a women-owned business, very, very community-minded, and they really seem to be having a lot of fun with the property. Thanks for adding all the beautiful sunflowers and stuff out front. For those of you who would like to get in on the fun next month, our August nominations are due by August 19. The block nominations, because we do also accept nominations for actual blocks in the city to be recognized, is by September the 10th. Nominations can be made on our Facebook page, which we are pleased to say we have over 2,600 people following our page, as well as you can go to the Ferndale website and the DPW yard. And coming up, of course, is one of our most happiest and look forward to awards, the Beautification nominations coming up in October. So please get involved, follow our page, and nominate a neighbor. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you to all the winners. All right, next up for our final presentation is 5D, consideration of the request to approve the city manager's appointment of Dan Anatostic as DPW director effective August 2nd, 2021, and to backfill the vacant deputy DPW director position that will be left open as a result of his awesome promotion.
Yes, Mayor, it's my privilege to announce on behalf of the city manager the promotion of Dan Anatostic as DPW director. A little bit about Dan. He got to the city a little bit before me, and by the time I arrived, he was already a leader in our administrative team. He is a core member of the CIP team. He really is the backbone of our lead service line replacement efforts. He's a co-author of our updated fleet policy and many other administrative tasks, all while serving as deputy and running DPW operations. As the agenda attests to, we cast a wide net to look for a new director, and when we launched this effort, I asked Dan, I said, are you going to go for it? He said, yeah, absolutely. But if you get a candidate that's, blows you away and will be a great leader for the DPW, bring him on board. And, lo and behold, we did get that candidate, but it is Dan himself. The recruiting agency said that of the resumes that we received, Dan is the most qualified, and we already know he is a 100% steward of the city's culture and values. And so we made the decision to promote Dan and call off the remainder of the search. So congratulations, Dan. It's well earned, and we look forward to your continued success at DPW.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, we do need to vote on this. We'll put a motion and we could have comments.
So
if I may, through the chair, I move to approve the city manager's appointment of Dan Atasic as DPW director effective August 2nd, 2021, and request to backfill the vacant deputy DPW director position that will be left open as a result of the promotion as submitted by the city manager.
Moved by Polika, supported by James. Any comments?
I just have to say, if I may, I'm just tickled at that smile that's on your face right now. It's such an accomplished smile, so wonderful. I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for you too. I think your humor and style fit right in with the team, but your due diligence and definitely getting through the pandemic and the lead line replacement program, your true talents have shown through, and I appreciate all your service to the city and look forward to working with you a little bit more closely going forward. So I guess tomorrow will be no different as today, so thanks for being here. All right, moving, Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pretend Lee Smay,
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski,
Yes.
Councilmember Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer.
Yes. Next up is our call to audience, and we provide 30 minutes for our residents to speak on any topic they wish that is on or off the agenda. And we are doing hybrid still until the end of the year, meaning in-person comments as well as via Zoom. And typically during the pandemic, when we were still on Zoom, I would take Zoom comments first, and then we would take phone call comments. But now we have three options: in-person, Zoom, and phone call. So we are going to start with in-person first. Please, we have a big clock now to help residents keep within 3 minutes. Even you, former Mayor Dan Martin.
I can do it.
With that, and I don't know who's managing. No, the Zoom, who is doing you're doing?
Yeah.
Our Assistant City Manager Kyle is still doing that up on the dais. So with that, I'm going to turn it over, and please state your name and address.
Sure, my name is Dan Martin, and I'm here as the Executive Director of Ferncare Free Clinic, which is at the corner of East 9 Mile and Hilton Road. And I'm so pleased to announce that this past weekend, Ferncare had its 11-year anniversary seeing patients without insurance in Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties. So just really pleased with that accomplishment for Ferncare and its patients and its volunteers. As by way of update, Ferncare never closed during the pandemic. We've continued to see patients throughout. And in the past year, we've added to the services already in existence, which include primary care, pharmacy, lab, durable medical equipment reclamation. We help find people insurance. But in addition to all that, we've added 2 case management programs. We've added telehealth. We've added HIV and STD testing and counseling. And I am super pleased to announce that as of this month, in partnership with Southfield Mental Health Associates, we are now offering behavioral health therapy counseling for our patients. So now we have a mental health component to the delivery of the total health care for our patients. So just so pleased for that's going on. And I also have an invitation that on August 28th, we are having our very first golf outing, but being family friendly, it's putt-putt. So we're super excited about that. August 28th, 10 a.m. You can get tickets and information through the website at www.ferncare.org. And like I said, it's up in Royal Oak. I believe City Council has come on board as one of the whole sponsors, so thank you very, very much. And bring the family out and have a great time. It's going to be terrific. We'll have awards, we'll have a party. It'll be a lot of fun, and it's putt-putt. Everybody can do it. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Great news for Ferncare. All right, welcome to City Council.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm a little bit unique here. I'm Dana Paglia King, and I'm actually here representing Community Housing Network. We are the HARA, or Housing Assessment and Resource Agency for all of Oakland County, so including Ferndale. And I'm actually here to kind of show my support for the source of income amendment that's going to be discussed later tonight. I have had the privilege of speaking with some of you regarding this amendment, and I've been working with Commissioner Cavell for the past 8 months on these measures. Again, I'm just here to show my support. As we know, with the new eviction moratorium, that's a little muddy and kind of open for interpretation. There's been a housing crisis kind of looming this entire time, and I think we're really going to start to see the full impact of it in the next few months. But I also know there's been an increase in funding, an increase in vouchers, emergency housing vouchers, and the VASH voucher, which is for our veterans. So there's going to be this increase of funding and assistance to help folks. But I'm hoping that we can eliminate a barrier here. So source of income is something that is protected for all. And these are individuals, it's families, it's veterans, it's people fleeing domestic violence, it's people with disability, our senior citizens. So a lot of people benefit from source of income protections, and so do landlords because they get guaranteed government money, and the voucher has never not been funded. So again, just showing my support. I appreciate all of you for considering this amendment, for considering the work we've been doing, and I appreciate each of you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody. Charlie Cavell, 640 East Marshall. I'm here to also offer my whole congratulations and thanks to everyone that put in time to this. So this is just going to be a round of thank yous. First to Mr. Martin for his help in thinking about the adjustment to 7B on the agenda, the source of income. Second to Dana, who is the brainchild of this and works at CHN, which is a very reputable organization. Also to Heather Van Poker, who was one of the big idea generators and helpers in the early stages of thinking about source of income and its impact here in Oakland County and especially Ferndale. City Attorney, Mr. Christ, it was very nice to work with you, and I appreciate all the things you did to help with the legalese. Councilmember Mikulski, thank you for your in-depth questions. Kyle and Joe, thank you both for sticking with it and going through this. And like Dana was saying, this is good for landlords because it allows another source of income for landlords to receive. This is good for tenants because it expands the opportunities for rentals available to them. And this is extremely good for all communities, but particularly for Ferndale that hangs its hat as being an inclusive and accessible and diverse place.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no other folks in the actual chambers to give comment, we're gonna hand off the baton to Kyle for Zoom.
All right. First up, Mayor, we have Heather Van Poker.
Hello.
Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight to extend my appreciation for your consideration of the source of income discrimination ordinance. Just to paint a picture for the community, for people who are looking to rent with the assistance of a voucher, they are oftentimes shut out of the market before they've even had a chance to see if they might qualify based on their rental history, based on their personal budget, and other factors. So this discrimination based on source of income would simply remove a barrier to access, and I think it would immediately alleviate some of the challenges to the existing market. We know we have a longer-term plan, hopefully, for developing additional affordable housing stock, but until the time is on hand to build new, we need to provide access to what is. And I think this source of income discrimination ordinance would offer that immediate relief. And just to give the community some relief or of any potential fears they may have of the impacts of this, I would just say from the landlord's point of view, as Dana had pointed out, the voucher program offers really great action. Am I echoing?
You're cutting out a little bit.
Okay, sorry. From the landlord point of view, I think our voucher program offered some really critical protection during this unprecedented pandemic. They didn't lose a dime if they were in our program. As our participants had loss of income and other financial challenges, our payments went up to make up that difference. So landlords were held harmless. Also, I think sometimes landlords fear the inspection component or some of the administrative requirements. And I would just say to the community at large that really those inspection requirements, if you can pass a local rental inspection, you can pass a Section 8 inspection. That is certain. And I've already reached out to our community economic development department to begin discussing ways to go forward, how we can streamline so that there's still only one inspection, for example. I think there are ways we can partner and make sure that we don't have any new requirements. So I just wanted to voice my support for this considered ordinance and my thanks to the county commissioner, mayor, and the whole council for your thought on this really critical housing access tool. Thank you.
Excellent. And just so folks know, that was Heather Van Pooker. She's the executive director of the Ferndale Housing Commission.
Next, Mayor, we have Evelyn Elster.
Hi, Evelyn. Welcome.
Hello, Evelyn Elster on Wild Wild West Drayton. In regards to your regular agenda item about finding those of us who have not gotten the new meters yet, the new water meters, I'm afraid I gotta take issue with that. We haven't had anyone in our home in over a year. I don't mind dying, but dying at the hands of some deceived and or stupid individual, that I mind. So we have put off getting our meter for that reason, as well as the nightmare scenarios I've seen online where people are being charged exorbitant amounts with the new meter, and they're getting mystery leaks with their new meters throughout their house, and it's been explained away, but I'm not buying it. So for a number of reasons, we haven't gotten our new meter. And now you want to fine me and or expose me and my husband to the Delta variant, which is on the rise rapidly, because we have not submitted to you. Really. I know homeowners are just viewed as a cash cow in this city, but you could give us a little moniker of respect here. I would really appreciate it. I would like a vax card to whoever comes to replace our meter. I want a vax card, I want a mask, and I would like to request a negative test for COVID within the last 72 hours of their little visit to my home. Is that too much to ask? I'm done.
Thank you, Evelyn.
And Mayor, we have one call-in. It's a 248 number. Last three is 209. Go ahead.
Hello, 209. You're on the air. Hello, 209. All right.
That's everyone in line, Mayor.
Okay, 209, if you somehow have technical issues that we're not aware about, please raise your, we'll see if you chime in later. Is that okay, Kyle, if it happens?
Yeah.
If you look?
It's your
Okay.
meeting, Mayor.
Okay. All right, so with that, all interested parties who would like to call the audience have been addressed, and so now we are going to close call to council and move on to the consent agenda, which I will read in its entirety, and council will make their determination of how to move forward. All right, 7A, approval of the July 26, 2021 council meeting minutes. 7B, consideration to amend Chapter 28 Human Rights Ordinance to include Article 1B, Source of Income Protections. 7C, approval of annual dues payments to the 8 Mile Boulevard Association for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, in the amount of $2,500. 7D, approval of critical generator repairs at Hilton Pump Station by Cummins for $2,642, with the expense charged to Water Sewer Fund Repair and Maintenance 592-000-775. 7E, approval to purchase a replacement utility locator from USA Blue Book for $3,840, with the expense to be charged to Water Fund Operating Supplies account number 592-000-740. 7F, approval of roof section replacement at the Department of Public Works by Great Lakes Roofing for $8,632 plus $136,800 contingency, with the expense charged to General Fund Facilities Maintenance 101-265-931. 7G, approval of a Bauer breathing air bottle fill station for a total cost of purchase and installation of $64,714.25 to be charged to Fire Capital Outlay 101-363-977. 7H, approval to adopt the resolution authorizing temporary public meeting space location. 7I, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the City Manager's Office and subject to renew by the Council Finance Committee. What is the pleasure of council?
Move to approve the items on the consent agenda as read.
Support. Moved by James, supported by Mikulski. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lake May?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes. All right, next up is the regular agenda, and first up is 8A, consideration of the approval of Eagle 2022 recycling grant application in the amount of $487,200.
Great.
Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Erin Quattel, Sustainability Planner for the city. I'm very happy to be here in person in front of you tonight. It's been a while. This is going to be Claire Dion's show. I would just like to give a reintroduction of her. She is our Zero Waste Program Coordinator for the city. She was hired about 3 months ago, and during the initial introduction, she was introduced via Zoom, and so I'd like to give a formal introduction to her tonight. She's going to be presenting this item, and I am here for support. So if you have any questions for her that she needs some more support with, I am here to help her out. So Claire, take it away. Can you, yeah, I just have to pull up my item.
Oh, welcome to your first council presentation.
Yes, right here. Full screen, okay? Yep. And then... Okay, perfect. Great, thank you. All right, well, thank you for the introduction, Erin. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As stated before, my name is Claire Dion. I'm the new Zero Waste Program Coordinator, and tonight is my first City Council presentation, and I look forward to sharing an exciting grant opportunity with you all.
Through the chair, if I can interrupt for a moment, we're going to replace the mic.
Sure. Less feedback?
With the cordless mic to see if there's less cutting in and out.
Does there seem to be an improvement? Is this on?
Yeah, you actually have to hold it like right up to, it's not one of these where you talk like this, you have to talk like that.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. I present to you today for the consideration of the approval of the Eagle 2021 recycling grant application. So our agenda for this evening, I'm going to be going through some of the grant funding details, a brief timeline, details of the project itself, a cost breakdown, and there will be time for questions and discussion. So As for the grant itself, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy is providing a total of $8.5 million for funding for recycling infrastructure projects with a 20% match from the municipalities. The goals of these grants are to increase the statewide recycling rate to 45% by 2025. And just for context, our 2019 statewide recycling rate was 19%, so we have a great room for improvement. And the acceptable projects include different infrastructure projects that will help increase the collection, the access, and the participation of recycling. The commercial recycling infrastructure project that I will be presenting to you tonight will include 2 different sections. One of them will be multifamily recycling program, and the other will be for our commercial downtown centralized waste areas for our businesses. And the total cost of this project is $609,000 with a $121,800 contribution from the city of Ferndale. So just a brief timeline of how we got here. In spring of 2020, Council approved the Waste Reduction and Recycling Master Plan. And this plan included many different strategies to optimize the waste management system downtown, and that included enclosing the centralized waste areas and implementing a multifamily recycling program. In spring of 2021, I was hired as the Zero Waste Program Coordinator and have been able to focus my efforts on the downtown waste management system and began to plan for the improvements upon these centralized waste areas. This summer, I have been working towards designing the improvements to apply for this grant with Council's permission on August 18th. And in winter of 2021, if the grant funding is awarded, we can begin building these enclosed waste areas. And in spring of 2022, we can open these new enclosures and also release our incentives for our multifamily recycling program. So there would be many benefits of achieving this grant funding. I broke them down into 4 sections here. And so the first being it will help us reach our climate goals by improving and increasing our recycling capacity, both in our downtown and for our multifamily units. We can divert more recyclable materials such as plastic, glass, and paper from landfills, which have harmful impacts, and we can decrease those harmful impacts and help Ferndale move towards the direction of climate neutrality in 2050. The next section of benefits being safety and security, having improvements upon our downtown waste enclosures and utilizing additional technology will help increase the accountability, being our businesses, and we can track metrics as we improve our recycling rate in the future and implement new recycling programs, so it'll be nice to see how that data changes over time. The next being our environmental conditions. Enclosing the centralized waste areas will decrease the amount of unwanted pests and decrease pollution runoff and improve our water quality. The last being aesthetics and organization. By improving the look and the organization of the centralized waste areas, we can really make these waste areas become an asset to the downtown rather than an eyesore. So the first section of this grant project would be the multifamily recycling program, which has the goal to provide an incentive to jumpstart funding for multifamily recycling. Currently, there's approximately 320 multifamily properties with approximately 1,200 units, and we would provide $160,000 in funding opportunities that could be used for either the purchase of roll-off recycling carts or rental of recycling dumpsters that could be used to collect recycling material to haul away to our soccer facility rather than to the landfill. The next portion of the project would be the improvements to the downtown centralized waste areas. On the right here, we have a map of the 4 different compactor zones, and the numbers that correlate with these zones are the amount of businesses that utilize each zone. So you can see Zone 1, we have the largest amount of businesses utilizing that zone, and in total there's approximately 140 businesses that utilize our compactors in the downtown. So improving upon these areas will provide additional opportunities for recycling, as well as increased accountability, and will incentivize waste reduction. The improvements will include developing 2 new enclosures for the compactors and different waste streams in both Zone 1 and Zone 3. And the updates to the current enclosures will be in Zones 2 and Zones 4, with updated doors and gates, as well as new cameras and door security systems, as well as additional educational signage for those that are using those centralized waste areas so they know exactly what they can recycle. In addition, both public art and green roofs can be added to these enclosures to give them a nice look for the downtown and kind of increase the amount of community engagement with these areas. So these photos up top here were taken just today of the Vester Zone 3 waste area. And as you can see, the different waste streams, we have both cardboard dumpsters, grease bins, and the trash compactor on the right. And you can tell that all of these different waste streams are pretty dispersed and fairly disorganized. So our goal would be to enclose these areas to maximize the amount of space that's available and keep them nice and organized and safe. Here we have both the design and the location for the future Vester waste enclosure. In the map on the top, the yellow rectangle there is where the compactor is currently located in the alleyway, and the red rectangle would be where we would be hoping to move it to. And this would free up the alleyway and really improve upon the conditions for the waste stream. And this new enclosure design would accommodate both a trash compactor and a recycling compactor to increase our recycling capacity. It would include the grease bins and even have space for a future organic waste collection program. And the cost of this enclosure is approximated at $125,000. This picture here is the current conditions of Lot 8, which is accompanying the DOT compactor. And as you can see, it's the same situation as before, where it's kind of extremely spread out and pretty disorganized. We also run into some issues with having the grease bins located near storm drains. So during heavy rains, the grease from those bins tend to run off into those storm drains and affect our water quality. So in order to prevent that, having them in an enclosure would really improve upon that issue. So the same layout as before. We have the image in the top, and forgive me, this was an old photograph, so the dot is not actually finished in this picture, but you can see that in the yellow rectangle, we have where the compactor is currently located, and we have that red rectangle, which is where all of our recycling infrastructure is currently located. And the proposal for this location would be to add an additional compactor enclosure in Lot 8, in that red rectangle there where the recycling is currently. And this additional structure will accommodate the trash compactor and will allow us to move all of that recycling infrastructure into the DOT enclosure to really build and expand upon our recycling program, especially since this particular location houses our most amount of businesses, 64 businesses, and growing with the new development that's located there. So we're going to want increased capacity for our recycling there to make sure that we still are reaching our goals. And as you can see on the design on the bottom, that enclosure will house both the trash compactor and the grease bins, and you can see it has a green roof and even a space for public art to engage the community. And the cost for this enclosure would be approximately $115,000. Here's a breakdown of the project cost. The grant contribution would be $487,200, and that would come from Eagle, with $121,800 match from the city of Ferndale. And the match amount has been allocated from the sanitation fund for capital improvements for the building and improvements for the enclosed waste areas. And as you can see on the left, there's the different categories and the details with their additional amounts that total to $609,000 for the project total. And lastly, there's just a summary. Again, I'm asking for approval to apply for this Eagle Grant opportunity, which comes at a great time because we're able to incorporate the high priority items from the 2020 Downtown Waste Plan. And the two portions of the plan would be to offer on-site recycling pickup for multifamily residents, which will help increase Ferndale's resource recovery rate and really improve our overall recycling rate. And in addition, the development and improvements of enclosed compactor areas that will provide opportunities to both incentivize waste reduction and help improve our recycling rate. Are there any questions?
Are there questions of fact right now from council?
We do have a question, if I may, through the chair. First, I just want to add some clarity that the multifamily units, that 320 number, it includes perhaps the two-family flats and the apartment buildings as well in the city, or no?
I believe that's the most updated number of multifamily residents.
So my question is that I know that there are some apartment buildings or property management teams that don't even participate in the recycling with the city. They kind of do their own thing. So is there going to be some sort of outreach to kind of reach out to those individuals? Or is there some incentives for them to encourage them to get on board with the city and participate in the recycling along with everyone else?
Yes, that's our goal, is to provide the incentive to get everyone on board so that we can have a recycling opportunity for every multifamily resident. Currently, it's not mandated for multifamily properties to have recycling for their residents. So we're hoping that this incentive will help get more multifamily properties on board so that they can have recycling not through the city, but instead separately on their own through the commercial entity.
And when you get a chance, can you just kind of break down what that incentive would be for them to?
Yes, so I have the cost being $160,000, which would be approximately $130 per unit, which would cover either a roll-off recycling cart, or that money could be used to rent a recycling dumpster if the units had, I think we put it at, if there were less than 8 units, each unit could get its own recycling cart, and if there were more than 8 units, they would be able to share a larger recycling dumpster to house all of their recycling material.
Thank you.
Through the chair, working off of Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May's question, for clarity, I believe that 320 number is only for units like 3 and 4 family units, not necessarily duplexes. Otherwise, there'd be thousands of duplex. There's a couple thousand duplexes in Ferndale. I also don't think, and our new DPW director could probably confirm this, but I don't think that number includes our apartment buildings either, because they have their own waste removal program. Is that correct? So they don't necessarily fall into the city's waste removal program. So I think the 320 number, because you said it was 1,200 families or 1,200 units. So I would guess that, if you take simple division, you're looking at 3 to 4 units per entity.
I can help you out with this one. So it's approximate based on the information that we have on our rental unit inspections that we have every year in CED. And so it's based on that, it doesn't include duplexes because that's technically not multifamily. Multifamily is anything 3 and above. And as far as we know, it includes all multifamily units. Certainly when we were applying to this, it was something that we were trying to get the best number that we could. There's probably some discrepancy there, but that's the information that we have for that. And another point I wanted to clarify too is that the technically multifamily entities are commercial businesses, and so they do not participate with our soccer contract that we have as it is today in the city of Ferndale, so they would be separate contracts. That's why you sometimes see different types of haulers that are not car trucking, which is car trucking is the hauler that we use. Why you see multiple haulers throughout our community, because technically they're commercial.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
Through the chair, could I just piggyback on that? And this is probably a question for you, Erin. So if we do provide bins to those commercial entities that currently don't contract with SACRA, would they end up having to contract with whoever they're contracting with currently in order to pick up those bins? And is there any sort of, do we know if there's any sort of regulation as to what kind of bins they can use with their current contractors?
So it depends. The hope is that this incentive will incentivize those folks to participate in recycling, period, whether it's through, if they decide to go with car trucking, if they're already using car trucking, or if they use a different hauler. What we had discussions with is we figured what the cost was for recycling bins like SACRA had already provided for community members, and so that would be a unified bin like that. I believe it was 96 gallons. 96 gallons. So it would be that same 96-gallon bin that you see elsewhere throughout the community as well, if they're the individual roll-offs. Otherwise, it would be the dumpster. And so what we're trying to do, certainly this is the opportunity to have the grant funding to see if this is something, to provide the initial incentive for it. We've never done anything like this before. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of investigation and, policy curation of how we do for this. But it was the intent to kind of get this funding and develop the program for multifamily recycling.
Okay. Just a follow-up to that. If they don't go for the multifamily recycling program, what would happen to that funding? Would that get reallocated to something else within sanitation?
Is the question, what would we do with the 160,000 for that? I think the intent would be for it to allocate still that 160,000 for multifamily, and with Claire's estimation and calculations that she did, that was roughly how we kind of were able to divvy it up. There could be contingency in there. There could be things that we just didn't account for. It's never the intent to give back funding to funders, so that would be something that we'd have to address at that time if that came up.
Okay. To follow up on that just a little bit further, could we potentially allocate those funds to residential trash cans, since that has been a pain point for our residents for a long time?
That would probably be something that we would have to adjust the scope if I'm familiar with other types of state funding, if this runs the same way. It's something that we could investigate and whether or not there's flexibilities there, but as far as I could tell, and Claire, you could maybe provide more information on that, that would be something that would have to go through the approval process if we change the scope after the award.
And I think, too, the main goal of this grant would be to incentivize recycling and reach our recycling rate of 45% by 2025. So we would just have to account for that goal. And we'd have to see if providing residents with trash cans would be available to meet that goal.
Just one more question through the chair. So regarding and I too have heard many complaints regarding the trash cans, but with this grant, can it be, I know you said you needed to investigate this, so I guess the question is, would this grant be able to be utilized in a different way other than recycling, or is it strictly recycling? Does it have to be around recycling, period?
Yes.
So being creative. regarding that?
Yes, the grant title is Recycling Infrastructure, and there are many different ways that you can go about achieving that topic, but some of the topics would include improvements of drop-off locations, such as our centralized waste areas, and other abilities to be able to increase the recycling capacity.
Oh, sorry. I was going to switch briefly to the downtown waste management infrastructure part of it. For the most part, I think it's very straightforward. The only question that popped into my mind when seeing the diagrams was I noticed that for some of those, the structure would be moved just a little bit farther away from where the dumpsters and waste management facilities currently are. I'm just wondering whether you've had any conversations or gotten any feedback about any pushback to moving them a little bit farther. Granted, it's not terribly farther, but just something that I noticed.
Yeah, when I was doing a walkthrough of the downtown, I was able to meet with and discuss with a couple business owners and many business employees, and they really like the idea of having waste enclosures because it really will improve upon their daily experience of utilizing these waste areas. So I think from their perspective, walking a few extra steps really is not as big of a deal as it is to them having, a secure location where they know it will be maintained and can be cleaner and overall more organized and easier for them to access and manage.
Great.
I had some questions about the location of the new enclosures, particularly the one on Vester. It looks like we're going to be taking out some parking spots for the new enclosure. Can you talk about how many will be reallocated to the dumpster area?
Yes. Would you like me to go back to that slide?
That would be great.
Right. So as you can see here in the red rectangle, it does take up, the enclosure itself takes up 3 parking spaces, and then we need an additional parking space just for the safety of being able to maneuver around the enclosure in a safe way. And these parking spaces, although we're going to be taking them away from the parking lot, I think that it'll be a really big improvement from having the compactor in the alleyway. Currently it's located directly in front of a business front door and is kind of a really big eyesore in that alleyway, and moving it into the parking lot I think will create a better opportunity for people to utilize that alleyway and maybe even develop the space into have it a small public park or seating area in that space, especially because the business there actually just painted a brand new beautiful colorful mural. So having the compactor moved to the parking area will help us be able to appreciate that mural more.
Okay. And then the property owners of the grassy knoll, the nickname for the vacant property there, has signaled that they are no longer selling it and looking to develop. They were interested in developing prior to your arrival, and then had an approved site plan for a building, and then stopped moving forward with it, and then put it up for sale. I'm concerned that if we put this there, is it going to somehow impact future development conversations, and are we going to have to spend money to move it? And so I'm just wondering if we're setting ourselves up for future problems with so close to the property line. So I'm not sure if the CED team took that in consideration. Erin, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. I think that we're balancing the current need of our businesses and infrastructure with potential future development that we don't know the timeline of. And so in discussions with the city management team as well as the CED director, we determined that this would be an appropriate location. Similarly, this would be an appropriate location based on geometry and how the trucks would have to service the area. Certainly, we can't predict the future, and we can't predict any unforeseen circumstances in that way. But as far as the location goes and the benefits that we see for this area, they kind of outweighed any, potential concerns that we had. It is on public property. It is a public infrastructure piece. So I think that there's always room for discussion on what happens next. But based on what we kind of determined and the information that we have, the benefits outweigh any sort of concerns.
Okay, I want to be very clear about my question. By no means is there a project being discussed whatsoever. I just want to I am future projecting. Right now, because I don't want to have to come back a year from now and say we need to move the structure, and the developer is not going to pay for its removal. I'm creating a scenario that may have a very low risk of happening, but I'm concerned about it anyway, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, and we definitely thought about that and had conversations about it. And, we're open to alternatives as well. Just like Claire had mentioned, this just seems to be the optimal location in this particular way. Space is very constrained. We know that we have to manage our waste. This is how our centralized waste system works right now. So that's the recommendation.
Okay, and then any other questions from council, because I have more.
So one additional question. So we're talking about two enclosures, one on West Troy Street, one on Vester Street, and we already have one enclosure at the dot. Are all three of those going to have recycling capabilities? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. But the dumpsters, so the basic trash bins, will be moving out of the dot into the West Troy Street location.
I'll give it to you, Claire.
Yes, that is correct. So the West Troy, the Lot 8 location would house just the trash compactor and the grease bins there, and the recycling infrastructure would move into the current dot enclosure, and that is just to best utilize the space that we have available and to help mitigate some of the challenges that we've recently dealt with from moving the compactor into the enclosure within the last 3 months.
And one last question. When we talk about the enclosure being fully enclosed, are there going to be any sort of air gaps up above the enclosure? Yes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
When we talk about the enclosure being fully enclosed, will there be air gaps up above the enclosure?
Yes, so the enclosures themselves will be open air enough for us to not need any additional circulation. So with the green roofs, there will be, if you see the gap between the brick and the green roof, we've utilized kind of just an open air material that doesn't allow for anything to pass through the space, but allows for airflow.
And that'll be true of both of those enclosures?
Correct.
And the reason I ask is because rats.
Yes.
So if we are using any sort of mesh, I would advocate for 1/2-inch hardware cloth for that mesh, because that is about the only thing that will prevent intrusion. And it does have to go all the way up. There cannot be any gaps bigger than the size of a quarter.
Understood.
Okay, other questions of fact-finding from council? If not, we would need a motion to proceed.
I move to approve the EGLE Eagle 2022 recycling grant application in the amount of $487,200 as submitted by the Zero Waste Program Coordinator.
Support. Moved by Polika, supported by James. Opening up for a comment from council. Additional comment. I just wanted to say I'm really excited, A, that you're here, B, but it's been 4 months since you started, and that we're actually applying for support to expand this program that we've envisioned from 2020. I know our businesses are clamoring for this, but in private conversations with Councilwoman Mikulski, we know that business education is going to be needed. And I know that this grant is for, for physical assets, but I'm interested in understanding the impact on your time and investment to actually build out the education component. And will we need to go after another grant to do that? Because I think this is a huge shift for our business owners, and particularly learning what is recyclable and not recyclable, and what is compostable and what's not compostable is going to take a lot of time and hit and misses of what's working and what's not working. And a constant education campaign, because there's a lot of employees that change over. And how are we going to work with business owners to maintain that? What I'm really excited about and sort of miffed about at the same time is that when we designed the DOT, and those architectural designs were approved in 2018 with the site plan, is that we designed it to hold the trash compactor. And this is before the compost or the downtown management plan was done. So we were planning to hold more trash, and now we are planning to hold more recyclable waste. And repurposing what the room was designed for to be something else, because you should have more recyclable waste than trash over time, right? And so I'm a little miffed that we are having to spend more money on another enclosure, particularly for the DOT project on the parking lot. But then I'm like, okay, we're actually improving this program and moving in a direction that the Ferndale Environmental Sustainability Commission has been asking for I think 8 years. So that's my sticking point with this application, an overall change. But I think this team has really tried to make lemonade out of some lemons here with this particular enclosure, what it was really designed for versus what the downtown management plan, a year and almost 2 years later from that decision point, is trying to do. So that's where my thoughts are on all of that. I wanted to get it off my chest, so to speak. With that, I really am sending positive energy your way that we get this grant, because it will really improve a lot of things in our downtown. So with that, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job on your first presentation to council.
Thank you. I can't wait to be back.
All right. Next up on the regular agenda is the approval to purchase a replacement loader from Michigan Cat in the amount of $205,907. So welcome, Dan.
DPW Director Dan.
DPW Director Dan. Let's talk trucks.
Yeah, so good evening tonight, Mayor and Council. So tonight before you, you have on the agenda the recommendation or consideration of approval for a replacement loader. We are looking to replace one of the 2009 Cat loader that we have. Currently has 8,300 hours on that loader. Within our fleet management policy for our heavy equipment, our large wheel loaders, our backhoes, we do like to, in a perfect world, stay within a 10-year replacement schedule or 7,500 hours for that type of equipment. So that is why we have this up for discussion tonight. So overall, this has been a good loader for us. Cat makes good equipment, and while we have experienced some issues with it over the past year, we had to replace a fuel pump on it. It has been a machine that has performed well for us. So because of that, we decided to look into upgrading our Cat loader with just a newer model. So our crew had the opportunity to go out and demo this loader, and everyone gave positive feedback on that. So moving to this new loader will allow us to achieve some of the goals within our fleet management policy. So one of those goals is to move to a lower emission diesel engine, which this would do so. Right now, our current loader, it's an older diesel engine, so it is not required to take DEF fluid. Well, this loader does. In addition to that, CAT is really focused on pushing the efficiency of their newer diesel engines that they provide. So what this machine does is it has a lower burn for fuel because they regulate the power at different stages. So when it's in a lower stage, it burns less fuel, and it's also a hydrostatic machine. So there's a lot of hydraulics that go into the drivetrain of this piece of equipment. In addition to that, they do have a leading class decimal volume for this machine, 68 decimal points? I don't know. But it does meet the Tier 4 or Stage 4 emission standards or set by the EPA. So we would look to purchase this from Michigan CAT under their My Deal program. The overall cost of the machine is $205,000. We would be financing this piece of equipment over a 5-year period. Overall, we budgeted $210,000 over the 5-year period to replace this piece of equipment. We did receive a low financing quote from Comerica Bank for 1.86%, which brings the total value to about $213,500 for the overall cost of the piece of equipment. That does include the top-notch warranty over the 5-year period for this piece of equipment. And then with that budget overage of the approximately $3,000, we would take the proceeds from the sale of the old loader and apply that towards that, and that would come back into the general fund where this piece of equipment would be purchased out of. So this is a scheduled replacement. As I said earlier, that is in line with our general fund vehicle and equipment replacement schedule. That is up right now, so on that, I'll take questions from council.
The chair, I think I can start. Do we have an estimate for how much we would expect the current CAT loader to sell for to offset that overall cost?
So based on speaking with the dealer, we would have the ability to sell it ourselves, put it up, pay what we pay for auctioning out vehicles on state of Michigan's bid net, which is roughly 5% of the overall cost of the auction price for what it goes for. Michigan CAT will take consignment of used equipment and do all the work for us. And that is a cost of 10% that we would pay to them for the sale of the equipment. They're roughly expecting about $40,000 for this loader. The used equipment market is pretty good right now. So anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 are pretty confident that we'd be able to get for this piece of equipment. There's still a lot of life left in it. It's just kind of hitting that replacement cycle. So before we get into any high dollar repair costs, we would like to get this vehicle replaced, get something that's better on emissions and better on performance overall and more efficient.
And May, through the chair, I think one of my most favorite parts about this is that it is now it's going to be a low emission diesel engine. And why I'm mentioning that is because how so many of the city departments are kind of coming on board regarding that climate action kind of control. I think it's important, and I really am impressed with how everyone's kind of coming on board with something so important. And another thing regarding that, too bad it doesn't make an electronic version of that loader that size, but I can't imagine having to fuel or electronically charge something that size ever. So.
Well, we're coming along quite well with the technology for their electric vehicles. CAT has been looking at this. Right now, it's this is considered a small wheeled loader. If you would look at it, there's not much small about it, but there are mini wheeled loaders They have really come leaps and strides with their electronic technology on those, and then they're much larger loaders that you would typically see in an open pit mine or something like that is where they're focusing a lot of their technology right now. So they don't offer that, but the nice thing about the loader is it's not a one-season piece of equipment for us. We use it during snow removal operations. We use it for leaf removal, hauling out bulk material, and so on. So it is an important piece of equipment for us, and if we can get to a point where we have a nice staggering between our larger equipment purchases, our loaders, our street sweepers, to where right now we would basically be every 5 years, we're getting rid of those within our fleet management policy of still cycling those out within 10 years. So hopefully 5 years from now, when our newer loader is scheduled for replacement, we're having that conversation about upgrading to an electric loader and really decreasing our sound volume, because we do use these in the downtown area and residential areas when we're doing our snow removal operations, and we're hoping that the loudest thing that you hear is the backup beeper versus the actual equipment doing its work.
Through the chair. So you mentioned that you'll be using it for other purposes. I know that it comes with the 3.2 yard bucket. That's what we're ordering. Are you planning on ordering any additional accessories like snowplow or snow push?
So we already have snow pushes that will fit on this piece of equipment, so we will not be ordering a new one. The only additional attachment that will be coming with this loader is a new set of forks. So then when we get rid of the old one, the old forks and the old bucket, that'll go with it.
Okay.
And that's included in the cost?
Yes.
Overall?
And then finally, I just wanted to clarify that this is a scheduled CIP for this year. I know it's in the CIP, but I didn't know if it was for this fiscal year that you're planning on.
Yes, that is correct. It is for fiscal year 22 to start on the first year of payment. So luckily, this is a piece of equipment that we would not have to wait 6 months or a year to receive. So if it is approved tonight, there is one of these sitting out in Novi that as soon as we finalize the finance documentations and final sales agreement approval by city attorney, that we would be able to take delivery of. One of the tough things right now in the large vehicle market is the lead times for not only the cab and chassis, but for the equipment upfitting itself. So that's been quite a troublesome supply chain. So it's actually the first piece of equipment that we'll be able to immediately take delivery of without sitting and patiently waiting for.
Okay. Thank you. What is the pleasure of council?
I'll move to approve the purchase of a replacement loader from Michigan Cat in the amount of $205,970. The expense to be charged to general fund, public services, capital outlay, vehicles, account number 101-441-977. As submitted by the DPW director, contingent on approval of the sales agreement.
Support.
Moved by James, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I have a feeling you're not going anywhere. Next item is the consideration of a resolution to establish a water meter replacement late fee. Welcome back, Dan. Do you have a presentation tonight?
Yes, I do. So the city, as many of you may know, we're in the middle of a water meter replacement program last year when COVID occurred. So in the fall of 2019, council approved a water meter replacement program to deal with an ailing system that we had in order to upgrade all of our water meters and our radio devices and our software itself. So, the real reason for our replacements was to get rid of the obsolete system that was causing inaccurate billings and decreasing our ability to proactively monitor what's going on in the water system. So switching over to the new system allows us to do so. And not only on the utility side of things, that what we see, it also gives the customer the ability to monitor their own water usage and look at what they're using real time, set up leak alerts, and so on. Much like what we're able to do and we were doing with our old system, and allowing us to be proactive and say, you know what, there may be a leak occurring out in the house right now. Or we're seeing that your consumption is much more than what you normally do. Did you happen to fill up your pool this week, getting ready for the summer? Because we don't want to have impacts on those large bills. So, you know, it is important for us to have proper billing of our water usage because it's also proper billing for our sewage. In addition to, you know, properly sustaining our water and sewer fund. There are large chunks of capital outlay that occur every year, in addition to the overall cost of wholesale water and sewer that the system supports. So when we began the meter replacement program, it started up in December 2019. And at that time, we were under contract to replace 9,736 water meters. And that went from a residential water meter that's 5/8 in diameter for that line, all the way up to a 6-inch water meter at our commercial and multifamily properties. So prior to pausing operations of our water meter replacement program in March of 2020, we were able to complete 3,550 water meter replacements. So we put our program on pause during the governor's shelter-in-place order, and we were able to start back up in June of 2020 following proper COVID-19 protocols that we put into place. And during that time, additional notifications went out, and we were able to complete another almost 5,000 meter replacements by November of 2020. So during that time, we had a number of properties where we sent out additional notifications for and just really were not getting a response back. You know, at that time, we did understand that, you know, the world was in an interesting place at that time. And, you know, we really weren't penalizing individuals for reaching out to us and saying, you know, I've had some issues with COVID-19, health concerns, and so on. And, you know, we'd make a note of that, and we want to revisit that at a later date. So by the time we really got into November of 2020, our production numbers just weren't there for our contractor, and they fulfilled their obligations in terms of their notification requirements for our residents. So within our original contract, they were required to notify each property on 3 occasions, and then we upped that to a total of 6 for those that we were not getting any response from. And then, as many of you may remember, we had an actual level exceedance that occurred right around that time, and then really getting the lead service line replacement program up and running, and you know, now that is doing very well, so we can revert our focus to the water meter replacement. So, you know, we really need to finish replacing these obsolete meters for reasons stated earlier. So right now, we're at approximately 17% of properties need to finish completing that water meter replacement. You know, the old hardware and software aren't supported. We can't see real time what's going on, and we can't bill accurately because of that. And that's why people are receiving estimated bills. So that does create quite a burden on staff that have to do the water billing. You know, not only do they have to go and do additional oversight before those bills go out to make sure that astronomical bills aren't going out. They're catching all the estimateds, and those are being properly, in addition to the, you know, the time it takes to have that conversation with the customer about what they're seeing, why their water bill looks strange, or what the E's mean on the water bill, and so on. And it doesn't allow them to focus more on, you know, fine-tuning and becoming more efficient at the actual job itself. So in addition to that, the inaccurate billing is resulting in underpayment or overpayment in water bills. So all that this is going to do by prolonging out that meter replacement is continuing to compound that issue of their underbilling or overbilling. So And we know that because we've been seeing that. So, we're hoping to get some first round notifications out here in August, this August here in the next week or so. And then DPW staff will be taking on meter replacements between now and November when we can get our installation contractor back in. Because just as we keep moving, so do they, and they have some obligations that they need to finish up before we can bring them back into town. And we're really hoping to just really complete the program by early of 2022. That would really be ideal for all parties involved. So in order to incentivize the replacement of the obsolete system, we are proposing that a fee be tacked onto the water bill, and allowing that to be refundable if replacements are done or appointments made by December 31st of 2021. So in going in with that fee, it's based on that time that our water billing clerk spends on doing not only their water billing, but also the additional work that goes into the estimated bills and so on. We're also going to see some additional contractor mobilization costs for bringing them back into town. And then there is an increase on costs for the meter installation itself than what it was when we were originally contracted in the fall of 2019. So that late fee per billing cycle will be $100. And that's going to be effective during the billing cycles that begin October 1st. So this is really a timeline that was put together. So right now, tonight, August 9th, we're discussing and asking for approval from council to establish this fee. Planning to get notices mailed out August 12th, which will be later this week. October 1st is when late fees would begin to be applied. And then really looking to reimburse us by credit on the account for those appointments that are made. While we want to incentivize, we also don't want to penalize someone for getting their water meter replaced. We totally understand that this is still an interesting time in the world, but we want to make sure that the system that we're paying for to upgrade is fully complete, and that both us as the utility and our residents as the customers get to experience the cost of what it is that we're paying for, and really be more efficient overall in our water billing. So what we'll be doing is, we'll be taking appointments at the DPW for meter replacements once those notices go out. Resident receives a notice about this replacement, they can call the DPW at the extension listed on this slide, or they can go online and get an appointment scheduled. So we do understand that we're not going to be able to replace water meters at the volume as our contractor will. So there are going to be times where you call and you want to schedule an appointment with us to get your water meter replaced. It may be a few weeks before we can get to that replacement. We will follow back up along with you. In addition to that, if we're getting into later November, we'll just be making a wait list to where we have your contact information, we have your name, your address, phone number, email, preferred method of being contacted, so we can just pass that along to our installer, and they can reach back out and schedule that appointment with the customer themselves. Then that way we're not circling back around, mailing notices that don't need to be mailed again, or burning fuel and hanging door hangers. So that is really the process that making appointments is going to go, and we do understand that COVID is still a thing. So we do have COVID protocols in place. The majority of members on staff within our water department have been fully vaccinated and have been fully vaccinated for some time. But in addition to that, we will be requiring PPE during these meter replacements for our staff and our installation contractor that will be performing the work once they get back in town come November. So at that, I will open it up to questions of council.
If I may, through the chair, first I just wanted to make a comment regarding that PPE. It is really important that you really enforce that as far as the individuals coming out to wearing those masks, because like you said, we're still going through this crisis right now, and I think anything that will make the residents that need to have this done feel safer, we should do. I wanted to ask, just for, monetary purposes, just to kind of know the numbers, of that 17% of households that we have to kind of monitor the meters in a different way, what is the cost accrued, or has been the cost accrued for that?
For monitoring the meters in a certain
Yes,
way?
in a certain way.
So sitting down with Tim, who does our water billing, I don't think he was able to actually quantify that and fully break that out between his normal day-to-day while he's running the water billing and putting together the additional estimates. In speaking with Tim, he's roughly spending a quarter of his time to just troubleshoot issues with the estimated billings, focusing on trying to talk people into getting their meters actually replaced, and then keeping up with the importing in of the new water meter data once the meter is fully replaced. So none of this, when we planned the actual water meter replacement program beginning in the fall of 2019, was anticipated. So in a perfect world, Tim should be able to just kind of pull his reports, function in a normal basis, while he just looks for outliers. Well, now it adds a bit more of a manual component to it, and also a very empathetic customer service standpoint, because some of these higher bills that residents are receiving are due to estimates. And those estimates, if someone's just coming around now to getting their water meter replaced, they could have had an estimated bill for 8 billing cycles now. And if something along that line occurred and it's going to be resulting in a high bill, that's going to be potentially burdensome on our customer, our resident. And that is a conversation that Tim needs to have. And the unfortunate answer is, this is the water bill, but, thankfully we do have payment plans that residents are able to get on, but it is something that can be avoided. And we'd like to avoid that, in the near term and get all these water meters up online.
So are you saying that there's no way to kind of come up with a number? Because I think it's important for the residents to know just how much this is costing the city. Is there a way to, even the manpower?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, it varies drastically per customer of the system. But if you consider each complaint that council receives about these obsolete meters is, maybe an hour, 2 hours of Tim's time that should be spent running the current system. And it's substantial. All those complaints get filed to him, and he diligently and empathetically works through them.
Are there additional questions?
Through the chair, Dan, I heard you say that a good number of employees who would be making the change are fully vaccinated. If a resident made their appointment and wanted to request that a fully vaccinated employee be the one to service their home, can that be accommodated?
Yeah, no, that can be accommodated. Within the city's COVID-19 policy, there is language about proof of vaccination card. So I don't see if that's going to make someone comfortable and allow us to come into the home, get that water meter replaced while also wearing PPE to do that. That is definitely something that we can accommodate. At the end of the day, we want to get these water meters replaced. So, we've worked with residents in the past on some of their concerns, whether, it's COVID related or not. And at the end of the day, we want to have a good experience for both parties involved.
Additional questions from council?
Through the chair, I've got a quick question. So would it be DPW doing the installation or our contractor, so the Ferguson?
So until we're able to get the contractor back in town, which would be in November, DPW will be DPW staff will be the ones conducting the replacements. And then as soon as we're able to get our installation team back from UMS in town, they will take over replacements, and we'll still be peppered in there from time to time, but then this will free up our team to focus on their normal day-to-day. Typically, we allocate one individual to do our utility work. So in any given week, they're checking for leaks, they're marking out service line replacements, they are verifying service line materials, swapping out meters, and kind of doing all that on a day-to-day basis. So with this program and understanding that we have to manage our day-to-day while also trying to get as many meters replaced as we can prior to UMS coming back in town, we'll be tacking on, if the day allows, an additional 2 people to help swap out those meters and keep us moving forward. We'd love to have, at least 200 replaced prior to UMS beginning. I think that's a pretty good number for us, given the staff that we have. We're not able to throw a crew of 10 for the day and just really get production numbers during our replacements. So, if we can at least give our one staff member additional help to keep up with replacements and also our missed dig requests and so on, that's what we'll be doing until November comes. And then it'll revert back to what we do now, and DPW staff from time to time will be doing replacements, but we'll get back into our normal, I have a high utility bill, can you stop by and check for leaks, and getting back to the more proactive approach that we're able to do when our system's functioning as it should.
I have a question. It looks like Ferguson Waterworks is honoring the existing contract, even though they have to spend more travel costs to return. Do you foresee the city having to spend more money for them to return as part of the contract? This is about late fees, but we haven't talked about the contract.
Yeah, so if, on this slide, our costs are going to come from UMS, the installation contractor. So
they are charging us.
So what that mobilization cost is going to be is, approximately $10,000 for additional mobilization. And then the cost per meter installation has increased. So that has gone from $93 a meter installation for a normal residential meter up to $112 per installation. So roughly based on the number of meters that we need to continue to replace and the mobilization costs, it'll be approximately $150,000 in additional costs that we're incur to get the contractor back in town.
Okay, and how are we going to pay for that? And is that a future request coming to council if we approve this late fee?
So that cost will,
I'm assuming that might be through ARP funds or GAP or from any other funds from the pandemic. I don't know. And you may not be prepared to answer that. I may have come sideways at you on that question, but that is something that I want people to understand. There is costs for them to return, and now either the city's going to have to pay out of pocket again, and this is why we're trying to recoup some of this cost to get this done. So
fully exactly where those funds are going to come from, was not prepared for that question tonight, so I do apologize. But within the water fund itself, we always budget additional for those unforeseen circumstances that may arise, in addition to hoping that, not necessarily hoping, we are very conservative on our budget numbers when we do our capital budgeting, with the hopes of, if our water main project is $1.5 million that we estimated for that, we're having a bid that's 1.2. Typically, we're seeing that, not all the time, but it goes like that. So the nice thing about the water fund is, we have been conservative in our spending. While we have some larger dollar items such as our water main, our lead service line replacement, there is a nice fund balance in the water fund itself that would be able to absorb those additional costs incurred by the additional mobilization and replacement costs to finish completing this project.
Okay, I get it. This is the first step in getting this process rolling again, right? And then the contract will be revised in order to determine what those costs, the full costs of bringing them back. But we will be spending additional dollars to finish off the rest of the meters here in some way or form, and we'll have that discussion in the future, very near future. Is that my understanding?
Correct.
Okay, got it. In terms of process steps here. So, okay. Any other questions from council?
And if I may, through the chair, in terms of the late replacement fee, the non-compliant fee, I guess it is. So anytime then after December 31st, then this fee will just accumulate as long as these meters are non-compliant. So every water period, people will see this $100 that will not be refundable because they didn't meet it by the December 31st deadline.
That is correct.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, the two deadlines that are important here is the October 1st, which is where you need to have your appointment scheduled, and the December 31st, which is where you need to have completed your appointment.
Okay. So if people don't schedule their meter in November, by October 1st, and they won't get their money back, right, of the late fee. And then if UMS is here for what, 2 months?
So what they need to do by October 1st is get that appointment scheduled. October 1st is going to be the start date for it to be tacked onto the billing.
Okay.
So someone could, they will have 6 weeks, assuming that it hits the mail boxes within a week of being mailed, to actually get that appointment scheduled. Get on our wait list and get that appointment scheduled. The important part is keeping that appointment and following through with the actual replacement itself. So when that October 31st deadline comes around, that we can issue a credit to those water meters that have not been replaced.
The chair, that have been replaced.
That have been replaced.
Okay. All right. So my question is how long will UMS be here in November and December? How long are you planning them to be here for?
Hopefully, it would be, in a perfect world, November and December. I do anticipate that this could roll into 2022. And we need to keep production numbers high. If we're able to get a wait list ready for UMS and say, you know what, we have 1,000 residents that are ready to go, that's what UMS likes to see. Because they want to bring in a crew of 10. They want to get, each member of that crew wants to get 8 to 10 meters replaced. And those were the production numbers that we were seeing.
A day.
A day. So potentially, a good day for us was 80 meter replacements. So that's what UMS wants to see. And if we're able to get that wait list ready for them, contact information already in place, and say, this is who you need to contact. Their preferred method is by phone, by email. Their call center will start doing that. And we'll be gearing up for that. So it's, the day that UMS gets back into town, their week is booked out. And all we're having to do is send potentially an additional notification to those that we have not heard from yet to notify them, our contractor is in town. We would like you to schedule an appointment to get your water meter replaced, and still DPW would be an option to get that meter replaced if, someone is not comfortable with an outside contractor.
Okay. Because what I'm trying to lead to is that if we have more homes that need, that don't hit this deadline, the city is going to spend more money, potentially, using more taxpayer dollars to continue completing a program that we don't have to spend, because we need residents and homeowners to do their civic duty here and help be part of the transition and changeover, so that we don't waste more taxpayer dollars, because this is where I'm at, that we're getting to this tipping point. We have two systems, the staff are managing two systems. We're about to pay more money in order to bring them back. If we don't get them all done by the end of December, if UMS is available, we could spend more money because they have to reschedule and then come back again. And so that would be a risk management scenario that you're trying to avoid. I get it, right? By pre-scheduling everybody so that they can get done by the end of December, because you're not sure how long they're going to be here for.
Through the chair, I'm a little confused because I thought you said that DPW employees can be doing the work as well. So even if they didn't get it done in November or December and someone waited and got it done in January or February, I'm assuming it would be by a DPW employees.
That's burdensome, though.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I completely
potentially.
agree.
It would really depend on what that volume is, and if staff are able to do so. As many of you know, winter is a great season for water main breaks. So if a water main break occurs, appointments will be canceled by DPW staff, and we will be responding to emergency and potentially have to reschedule. But, you know, a manageable number is doable for DPW staff. It may just take us a little bit longer to work through those appointments with the additional workflow and snowfall and those activities that pop about. But depending on what that leftover number is, it could be done.
Yeah, yes. You're not as dedicated as UMS because we're hiring to be the dedicated people to do it. And you guys are fitting it into your workflow and other pre-scheduled DPW activities. I get it, what you're saying. All right, are there any other questions from council?
Yes, and I may have missed this. I apologize if I did, but if I was a resident that needed to get it changed and I called DPW tomorrow, could I get an appointment scheduled by calling tomorrow? Or at what point are you going to allow people to call and start making appointments?
You can call any day, the DPW, to schedule a water meter replacement.
Okay.
You know, it's in the normal workflow for the day.
Okay.
Whether that's, you know, a meter breaks, we swap it out. You know, we did already take delivery of these water meters. They're paid for. You know, they're just sitting in storage while we work through the replacement process. So if a property owner wants to call, and, you know, our CSR, Andrea and Tim that does the water billing, you know, they've done a great job at getting people to, you know, talking people into actually going through with the meter replacement itself. Since we've ended the program, you know, we've replaced approximately 200, 250 meters between now and then, just as people are allowing us to. We haven't had a incentivizing tool like we're suggesting tonight to get people to go through with the water meter replacement itself.
So if you did start getting 20, 30, 40, 50 calls a day at this point, would you be scheduling them for November and December, or would you try to schedule them now to get them done already?
No, we'd start from now and work our way out.
Okay. Councilwoman Mikulski.
Yes, one last question. Do we have any insight on why people are so hesitant?
COVID did not help anything whatsoever. You know, we did have a lot of concerned residents when we started back up the replacement program in June of 2020. So that was something that was sort of a sticking point for residents. And like I said earlier, at that time, you know, we made a note. It was approximately 40 or so residents that said, you know, there's not a soul coming into my house. And, you know, we documented that and totally understood that, you know, didn't take issue with that. They communicated that to us. You know, that's what we want. We want to hear that communication. I would say that you have a level of concern with the residents that have experienced a very high water bill between now and then. You know, that experience is because we're not monitoring a proper system. we're not able to proactively say, I think there's a leak going on at your house, you know, would you mind checking? If you can't diagnose anything, we'll come out and check for you. And then there's probably a certain level of, you know, distrust in the system itself. And as hard as it is to say that, you know, that's kind of a situation that we're in because of the estimated bill readings, the not understanding about the catch-up that's going to play when your water bill comes along after you do that replacement, because we're going to see a true reading. So, you know, at this point, it's a combination of all those factors and some of the concerns that, you know, we've heard at the DPW and Tim in water billing has voiced over the past year or so.
May I ask one more thing through the chair? Who is taking the complaints with regarding the high water bills? Who should people be reaching out to?
They should reach out to Tim. You know, Tim does our water billing. So if you were to call the city's main line at 2525, Tim is extension 117. And if you did call the DPW, depending on what that question may be, you know, we can look at past payment history and sometimes, you know, answer that question for a resident. And if we're not able to, you know, we will pass that along to Tim.
All right, council, all right.
I was going to say, through the chair, if I may make a motion.
Sure.
I move to approve the water meter replacement late fee of $100 per billing period effective October 1st, 2021, with the fee being refundable as a credit if non-compliant properties replace their obsolete meters through the DPW or the equipment replacement appointments are made by December 31st, 2021.
Support. Moved by Polika, supported by James, and further comment from council on this item before the vote.
I would just like to add that, you know, when these meters were starting to be replaced after COVID started, so I was one of the first houses that had the replacement last summer, right after we reinitiated the program. I was worried, you know, I was very scared of someone coming into my house or a couple of people coming into my house, but, you know, they were very professional. They came in with masks on. They went, you know, from the side door down the 5 steps to the basement, right to the meter. The only things they touched were the meter. They were there less than 15 minutes. They left. They were, you know, in and out quick, got everything done. And, you know, I sat at the other end of the basement watching them. And, you know, I have nothing but great things to say about their work and their performance. And my understanding is throughout that whole process, you know, I'm not aware of anybody that reported that they got sick.
Are there any reports of anybody becoming sick from UMS being inside their home from putting in the meters?
No, we did not receive any reports.
Okay.
So similarly, through the chair, I'd just like to share my own experience. I know that some people are hesitant because they've only heard of the complaints of people getting a higher water bill after the replacement. I was one of those people where leading up to the replacement, my water bill had become extremely predictable within a $20 range. And it didn't come as a huge shock to me when I got my water meter replaced. And lo and behold, the previous readings weren't correct. And I had used a whole heck of a lot of water that I had not paid for. So that first bill, after I got mine changed, was I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was $100 more, maybe $150 more. It was certainly more because finally there was an accurate read of water that I had used when my old meter was not getting an accurate read. What you're not hearing is that there are a handful of people who've had the opposite conclusion, where they've been paying an estimated bill because the meter, the obsolete old meter, was not giving an accurate read. So they've actually overpaid based on estimates. And I know that this is going to come as a shock, but there is rampant disinformation on social media.
No.
And I'm not, I would never call a resident out like this, but there are times when people have complained about something, and utility bills are public records, my friends, and people have posted about their bills and been false about what they have represented in their social media posts. And I'm sorry that people have had such a dissatisfied experience that they've felt compelled to overblow it. But I think it's really feeding into fears of folks who haven't done it yet. The reality is that the longer this goes on, it's costing the city money. It's costing residents money. And when we've gotten down to, we've whittled it down to 17%, we've got to either get compliance or pass some of that cost onto that 17% of residents. I would like us to assess no fees whatsoever, because we just work with folks and get this done. But I think that what we've come up with, one, is an alternative to shutting off people's water, which I would never, ever want to do, but certainly not during a pandemic.
And we've never done in Ferndale, by the way.
Yeah, it's legally an option, but not one that I want to explore. And I think that the way that this is set up, people have quite a bit of time to figure out how to work with DPW, work with the city, and get this done in the most comfortable way possible. But what's not an option is just running two water systems indefinitely. We have paused this and allowed much more time than was originally anticipated. But we're just at a point where we've got to do something. And there's plenty of time to make a decision, make some inquiries, get a comfort level, but we've got to move ahead.
Wow, those are some great comments. And I believe that, I support all of that as well. I know a lot of hesitation and there's some fears over switching. I get that. I know that our staff is compassionate and try to solve your problem and work through the issues and find a pathway that best fits your household needs to get this done. And so I'm asking the rest of the households, the 17% of households, to participate and help the city complete this project so we can move on and take this burden off of our staff so that they can get back to regular other items of servicing you on the services that you care about the most. So please join us, please participate, and schedule an appointment.
So through the chair, I just have to add in a brief comment. We're talking about a carrot and a stick here, and I feel like we're posing this as a carrot, and it can be considered a carrot in some ways because it is refundable. But if somebody truly is scared for their life due to COVID, and we're saying you get to choose between your fear and $100, and $100 that will accumulate over time, I do worry that that's a stick. That's not a carrot. That's something that if I have to choose between my life and a fine, I'll just accumulate the fine, knowing that you're not going to shut off my water. You're just going to fine me. What I would like to see is that if we are moving forward with this, that we have a more robust way of reaching out to these residents. So not mail. Our mail system is atrocious. We have all experienced it. I'm sure everybody up here has experienced mail issues in Ferndale. I feel like we need a more kid's glove touch, a more hands-on approach, maybe actually stopping at the home, knocking on a door to get to these people so that they understand what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and the precautions that we're taking. Not just with our DPW, but I would like to see something from UMS that would indicate that they also are going to take those precautions, because there have been reports during that first wave when we had them out. There were reports of individuals who did show up that weren't fully in their PPE gear. They had a mask under their nose. And I would expect better at this point. Again, we have vaccines out there. Everybody knows mask protocol. So I just expect better. Those are my reservations. I understand the necessity of this, and I don't want to see costs absorbed by the rest of our taxpayers due to the 1,600 that aren't getting on board with this. But I also feel horrible for those individuals who are scared for their life, who don't want to move forward with this process. So I guess I would just push back to you, if you're going to do this, if we agree to this tonight, let's make sure that we try to reach those individuals as best we can, not just through mail, not just passive, but active reach out.
To follow up on that, I think that's a good suggestion, but that is time intensive, and so I would expect a cost estimate for that type of response of door knocking and going door to door as part of a contract with UMS, and it may not be UMS or DPW doing that, because I'm not sure we have capacity to do that. So I would want to see how it would be delivered and how many homes that we would plan for and what the cost would be to do that. We still need to mail as part of the process. If we don't mail, people will get mad that we didn't mail.
Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
So, Councilwoman Mikulski has laid down an option. I just don't think that's going to be needed for all 17% of remaining homes, but I do think it might be an option for a subset of homes. If by the end of December we still have a bunch of homes not compliant, that might be the next step, potentially. But there's a cost to provide that type of engagement and outreach.
Last year, as part of UMS's contract, we had the additional mailer, and then part of their outreach did, within our contract, they were required to leave 2 additional door hangers, where, to knock on the door, a door hanger, explain the program, how to contact, who to contact, to schedule an appointment. So we would set something similarly. We'd really be going off of who we hadn't heard from. We have a list of what those addresses are that would be remaining. They haven't had a meter replacement. They've been waitlisted. What's left out there, and it's something that we could look into and see if it is feasible to do so.
I think you'll need to plan for some contingency costs for that as well as part of the contract that you bring back to council, so that option can be considered with UMS. Because I've heard you tonight signal that UMS availability is short term, and so I will leave the flexibility of you working with our vendor to figure that out. With the option that Councilwoman Mikulski just recommended that we look into.
Yeah, no, that's understood.
Oh, okay. Councilman Polika.
Oh, I was just going to add to that, but yeah, I think waiting until end of November, beginning of December to see who has already scheduled their appointments, at that point assess how, because we don't know if we're looking at, 500 homes or a dozen. And I'd much rather, wait to have a plan of action to, at the point where we know what our numbers are and base that. I mean, it's easy to go knocking on 12 doors as opposed to 500, so that's all I wanted to add.
Okay. Great discussion tonight. With that, I'm going to kick it over to our city clerk for a roll call vote.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lake Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. look forward to getting communicated about our updates as we re-enter and restart this program. All right, folks, we are moving on to our last item is 8D, appointment of voting delegate and alternate to represent the city at the Michigan Municipal League Convention, September 22-24, 2021. Marnie, Madam Clerk, would you like to introduce this?
Yes, thank you. I received a notice from the Michigan Municipal League asking that the council designate voting delegate for the annual meeting, which will be held at the annual convention in Grand Rapids, September 22nd. The meeting will be held to elect trustees and vote on some policy issues of the MML. And we have had interest expressed by council members Polika and James and Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. I know Mayor Piana is attending as well, to attend the convention, and this would be the appropriate time for council to determine who they would like as their voting delegate and an alternate.
With that, I'm just going to put on the table, I am opting out of being the alternate and delegate, so that others may have an opportunity who are attending. I am a permanent member of the Board of Trustees as a former president, and I go to all of the board meetings. I can't vote, but I just bring knowledge back. But I encourage other people to get involved in other ways, and so I'm going to let the discussion for the attendees of the conference figure this out.
I was going to.
And I'm backing away.
I was going to say that I've participated in this, so I'm happy to open it up and let others participate.
I have been the delegate in the past, so I am willing to pass it on.
I think we see our new delegate and alternate.
I'd be happy to. I mean, not through MML, but I have been on the legislative policy task force for SEMCOG. So I have had the opportunity to do something similar to this. Someone else's, like such a, oh, we want to do it.
Where's the buck?
I would love to participate, and I'd be happy to do it, but I'm also open to.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Mikulski, are you?
I will not be attending.
You're not attending.
Up to you guys, and I don't care which one of you decides to do it.
All right, it looks like.
I'll nominate myself for the alternate.
All right.
Very well.
Okay, it looks like we have our delegates.
Okay.
Thank you, folks. With that, we need a motion.
All right, well then I establish myself as the delegate for the MML convention with Councilman Polika as the alternate.
Support.
Support.
Oh, I can't. I tried mistakenly.
Support.
Moved by James and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. Madam Clerk.
Hey, Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May,
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski,
Yes.
Councilmember Polika,
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
and Mayor Piana.
Yes. All right, folks, that concludes our regular agenda items, and we're moving on to call to council. And tonight, starting off, is our Assistant City Manager, Kyle Paulette, with department updates.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll be brief. First up, we have Police Chief Dennis Emmy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to keep this brief. I just wanted to mention that we will have a street corner roundtable coming to a neighborhood near you in the next 2 weeks. We had some difficulty nailing down a date, but if you pay attention to CEO Maulmeister's Facebook page, there'll be one posted. Hopefully we have a date selected by the end of the week. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to some really fantastic police work. We've had some a rash of some serious crime here in Ferndale in the last couple of weeks. We have assault on a 7-Eleven clerk, of an unknown random assault, which is really scary, but our team was able to track down an unknown suspect by 2:30. This crime occurred at 4:30 in the morning. We tracked down a suspect in the city of Detroit by 2:30 p.m. And it really is some fantastic police work by our detective bureau and the patrol division. We also had an occupied home invasion in East Chesterfield. This subject, with the cooperation of Michigan State Police Aviation Unit and some canines from other jurisdictions, were able to track down that person within a couple hours in our neighborhood. So that's some fantastic police work by our officers. A little PSA that related to the home invasion. That suspect was in possession of a firearm when he was taken into custody. So that can be a dangerous situation for our officers and our residents. The other scary part of that was he obtained that firearm from a vehicle that he broke into earlier that night. So if you're at home and listening, please lock your car doors. Sometimes it's a crime of opportunity. And if you have a firearm, do not secure it in your vehicle. It needs to be at home, preferably in a safe. So that's a little PSA for you. That's all I have for you tonight, and thank you.
Mayor, next we have Fire Chief Teresa Robinson.
All right, good evening, everybody. So I do want to, first of all, thank City Administration and Council for such a support of a lot of the stuff that we want to do as a city, but a lot of stuff that I'm just kind of the face of, but it really is a team. But we did team with the County Health Department, and at Broadway at the Burbs, we did have a vaccination tent, and that is going to continue at our festivals going forward as much as possible. So that's a great thing for our residents or people that are coming into our community for the festivals to know, look for those tents. They will be at Dream Cruise on the emergency vehicle show night, but I think they have a conflict on the next day on the 21st. But as many of our festivals, I'll keep giving them and coordinating with them the dates, and so it'll be a great thing we can do to provide this to people, and again, try to increase accessibility and decrease barriers to accessing vaccines. We do also have our hiring process open right now, so hopefully we can get some great new firefighters, and that could be good news I can be announcing later this fall. And I think Broadway and the Burb was a success, and we deployed a couple new things. We do now have QR codes that people can scan to schedule car seat installations, home safety inspections, and get their burn permits. So again, really working to try to decrease and eliminate barriers and make things more accessible.
Through the chair, you'd mentioned that you were going to try to get the vaccination tents to as many of the festivals. Have you been working with the festivals to make sure that they have the room for you? Because I know like Ferndale Pride has only so many spaces they can put booths in, and they utilize all that space. So I don't want to, you guys schedule something and they have no place to put them.
No, it's absolutely in coordination. So when we're working with them for Broadway and the Burbs, I linked in Michael Larry and also Lena Stevens so that we could look at the layout and ensure that we would have a spot. So with all of these, I'm getting the players that need to be at the table, and I created a communication group so everybody's in the same group with the information. It can be shared to set up a location and, where we have to.
Okay.
So,
excellent.
yeah, so it's absolutely coordinated.
Okay. Yeah, because some of these events are private events where I don't know how much Michael Leary has influence over.
Yeah, so on any of them that if they feel like I might overlook them or they're not sure if they have connections through me, if they want it, if they contact me at the fire department, I'll work with them to help support their event also.
Great, thank you.
A follow-up question, if people get their first vaccination, I'm assuming it's the 2 vaccination step, where would they go to get their second one?
So with anybody, you can go on, there's website, apps, things, and look, or contact the health department and they can give you a schedule. Most pharmacies, a lot of places you can go in, so you don't have to go back to the same place to get the second one. You just need to get your second one, the same type of vaccine, within kind of that window, that week window when you're due. So they can help them with knowing where, if we have another festival around that time of second vaccine that they're gonna be at, they can let them know. Otherwise, they can provide them information to know where to find vaccination sites close and convenient to them.
And continuations, I believe they were offering both the Pfizer and the Johnson & Johnson, which would be the one shot.
And unfortunately, I had to miss the majority of Broadway and the Birds because I was teaching and trying to certify new instructors, so I did not make it to the very end.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be great if Ferndale received even a 90 percentile vaccination rate? It would be something really proud to report, so.
Yeah.
Thanks for keep pushing it and putting it out there, and hopefully people will take advantage.
Yeah, and we just want to do what we can to reduce and eliminate barriers to, sometimes if it's, transportation or just fear or just, so everything we can, we're just trying to remove those barriers and increase accessibility. So I appreciate the city administration for support.
Thank you, Chief.
And Mayor, the city clerk.
Yes, I'd like to announce that we'll be, almost election time again, we'll be mailing out AV applications to all the voters on our permanent AV list by the end of the month. Anyone who has not signed up for the permanent AV list or needs to change their address can do so by going to michigan.gov/vote. And right now, we're currently at over 8,000 voters on our permanent AV list, which is 48% of all of our registered voters, which is great. With the continuing pandemic, we're encouraging folks to sign up for the permanent AV list if they haven't. The option is always available to vote in person. But if the COVID cases spike or anything like that, this just gives folks an opportunity to have a backup method of being able to vote. So that will be coming soon. And I also attended Broadway in the Burbs, and our elections manager, Jordan Smelly, and I conducted a mock election where we had folks voting on their favorite color, their favorite season, car manufacturer, and the scintillating results will be posted on our city website later this week. We had a lot of folks come up, and it was great to be able to show them how our voting machines worked and kind of get under the hood of it, basically, by being able to open up the tabulator case and show folks where ballots go, and have a lot of opportunity to explain to folks how our elections work, and it was a really great opportunity. So that was a lot of fun for us.
Thanks, Marnie. And Mayor, to close out the staff portion, back by popular demand, DPW Director Dan Antosik.
Well, first, I'd just like to say thank you for the appointment. I do appreciate that. It's been a pleasure working here at the City of Ferndale since my time. I've had the opportunity to just learn a lot about a lot from all city staff. Being a smaller city and smaller staff, you do have the ability to sit in on a bunch of different conversations and, from council. So it really has been a pleasure. And, we do have a great team down at the DPW. So we're really just looking forward to, becoming more efficient, becoming more effective, and then just really honing on what our weaknesses, what our strengths are, and just continuing to build on that and providing quality services just across the board for the city. So, with that, construction projects are moving along as they can. By the end of the month, we'll be roughly 90% done with our local paving program. The last kind of piece of the puzzle right now is Bermuda. So once we finish up the work on Horton, we'll be getting started over there very shortly and be able to round out our 2021 local paving program. Water main's moving along as it should. We just did the actual connection to the new water main on Martin Road today. So that is live. Residents are drawing off of that brand new water main. And that'll come over on Academy here pretty soon. And lead service line replacements are moving along at a great pace. We are well on our way to meeting our 413 mark by September 30th. I anticipate we'll pass that by quite a bit once that time comes around. So, our contractor has been working great. Our project manager has been doing a great job. And, we've got some good feedback from the residents that we can utilize and kind of tweak the way we do things and communicate as we move forward into and start gearing up for next year's program. So, I mean, overall, our larger infrastructure projects are moving along, and we're hoping to get those tied up come early fall and make that transition into to leaf season at that time. So, again, thanks, and hope everyone has a nice evening. It was good seeing you all in person at the same place.
Thanks, Dan. All right, moving on to City Council. I'm just going to start on my left and go to the right. Councilman Polika.
Only thing I wanted to say was add on to the Broadway and the Burbs. It was a really great event on Saturday. Hope you were able to make it. If you weren't, I know that starting this Saturday at 2 p.m. at Schiffer Park, that organization, Michigan Stage, is going to be there and doing songs and numbers every Saturday from now through September at 2 o'clock at Schiffer Park. So Saturday in the park. It wasn't the 4th of July, though. That's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Excellent. Councilwoman James.
I wanted to just give folks a quick update on ranked choice voting, which is one of my topics. Since last month, Ann Arbor has decided to put ranked choice voting on the November ballot. So if approved by their voters, they would ranked choice voting in the future elections. For those who don't know, we are authorized to do so under our city charter, but run into some implementation difficulties since 2004. No big deal. But we're hoping that with communities like Ann Arbor moving forward, that we'll be able to unblock some of these difficulties that we've been experiencing up the chain, specifically from the Board of Elections. It was looking for a while like Lansing was going to have the same question on their ballot in November, but unfortunately I think they've backed off of that and won't be voting on it this November. Hopefully they can get some clarification, move ahead, and gosh, I'd love to tell you that in 2 years we'll be using it here for our mayoral and city council elections. That's my absolute desire and goal. Watch for more updates.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Mikulski.
Only one item tonight, rats. It's rat season, so we have what we call peak season coming up. Peak season is when we see the bulk of the rat babies come out and continue the breeding cycle. So 2 breeding rats in December can result in about 2,160 breeding rats in September. As a result, you may have noticed an uptick of individuals complaining about rat issues around town, sending in emails, commenting on social media. I urge our residents to adopt solutions that are not poison-based. If you are going to use a poison-based solution, do so in a responsible manner within a bait box, and typically using a solution that would be non-bioaccumulative, so something that does not transfer into the environment and end up impacting our predator populations and other animals that may consume that dead rat. If individuals want to eliminate rats effectively, I do urge them to join Ferndale Rat Patrol. We discuss many methods that homeowners can take responsibility and actually complete. That includes trapping as well as burrow busting including things like smoke bombs and dry ice. So, please, 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 everybody get on board, walk your backyard, look for 3 holes. If you find 3 holes, you've found a rat. And if you find 3 holes, you can address the burrow right then and there. You don't have to put out rodenticide, you don't have to put out traps, you can eliminate them all within 24 hours. So, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Mikulski at Ferndale mi.gov. Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
So how close would these holes be to one another?
Within about arm's length, if I'm stretching my arms out like this.
Okay. Thank you.
I received in my drawer a whole info flyer about how to maintain rats and kill them. Kill them so you don't kill other animals. Was that part of?
That is.
Is it part of your DNA on that?
Since we have been seeing a number of poisoning cases within wildlife and pets around the area, we have been distributing informational flyers in select areas where we have found animals poisoned.
Is that through the Rat Patrol?
That is through Rat Patrol as well as a couple motivated individuals.
Okay.
So you may see more information coming your way. Also, if you have a pet, it is also leptospirosis season. So anytime there's wet weather and there's rats, you end up with a perfect storm where rats urinate, they urinate a spirochete bacteria. That bacteria can get on your dog's paws or in their drinking water, and your dog can end up with leptospirosis. Get your pet vaccinated. It's very important. If your dog cannot handle a vaccine, as some can't, and even if they can, please make sure that you keep all water sources out of your backyard. So empty their water out every single morning before your dog drinks anything outside. Don't let your dog drink from puddles, and keep your dog's feet nice and dry. Wipe them off when they come back in the home so that your dog won't lick their feet and potentially end up with that bacteria in their body.
Wow, I always learn something new every day with our resident.
Expect this every August and September.
Well, I appreciate you targeting certain neighborhoods, and also with your, please convey my thank you to your special interest friends who apparently want to remain anonymous. So, all right, with that, I wish you guys I had short comments, but I don't. So I wanted to follow up on some conversations and feedback I'm getting from residents on our water and sewer infrastructure related to water backups in our basements from these continual rains. And I know a lot of people have continuous fear. I see not only my Detroit friends and folks who live in Grosse Pointe who live closer to the river, but folks in Ferndale are impacted by things coming back up into their basement. And so our city manager, Joe, is on vacation for the next week, but I've asked him to sort of give a summary what's going on when he returns with all of the stakeholders, what each are doing. So I just wanted to say, I've had questions about the FEMA emergency declaration and why our residents aren't in part of that. That's because it's a governor designation. And Ferndale wasn't included in that. I also want to let you know that the Great Lakes Water Authority is taking steps to better understand what's going on, and they've launched 2 investigations. There's a very long hour webinar with the executive director that talks about this, but they are looking to provide insights with this investigation. And then the GLWA is working with Water Commissioner Nash to have him give what's happening regionally, but I think it's time for him or the staff to come in and sort of give us an update on what's going on as well. And then I think, we have asked residents to put data into the Seacliff Fix, and I'm interested in seeing what that looks like from what's going on, so that we have a better understanding of streets that are maybe trend streets that have more backups than others, so that we can bring this data to our regional stakeholders who are responsible for talking about water infrastructure more regional, because this is a regional problem to help solve so that we have partners helping us at the local level. I know everybody on council is committed to figuring this out as our weather patterns become more intense and more frequent, and feels like a monsoon sometimes when it rains. If you've ever been through a monsoon, crazy. So I just wanted to say that that's what's happening. The duration of rains are placing huge pressures on a system that wasn't designed to handle this type of rain. That's really what we're figuring out, and this is not a short-term solution, but a long-term, long-term solution working with our regional partners. And so committed to making sure that we bring some more information and answers to the table about what's next, what are people working on. And then finally, I just wanted to say that I've been invited to participate in a solutions work group to discuss strategies for Michigan's first statewide housing plan. I will be part of a group invited to be part of Region 10. Michigan has 10 regions that are separated across the state, and so I will be providing input on my experience, and I'm going to be meeting with our Commissioner Charlie Cavell to make sure I'm pulling in his insights and concerns so that I can be a good participant next week when I'm part of this webinar. The state has never had a housing plan, a statewide housing plan, which is probably contributing somewhat to the housing crisis that we're having. And then I got and I'll post this on my Facebook page, but I have not listened to it yet, but the Planet Money podcast has a housing crisis show that talks about the origin of our housing crisis nationally. And so I think help putting that context in about what's going on with our crazy real estate prices has to do with the housing crisis. So trying to bring more solutions to Ferndale by participating at the statewide level. So with that, and I just wanted to say, I loved the Broadway and the Burbs. I want to give props to Summer and Lena from our DDA for making that happen with the DDA board members. And it really was a well-executed event given safety protocols. We didn't know that when we scheduled it that we would have a Delta variant as part of that, but we were all outside. And I brought my parents and they loved it. And so I know a lot of our residents did too. So with that, everybody, thank you for participating in your community and local government. Your voice helped guide us forward. So thank you tonight, everybody. Have a great one. This meeting is adjourned.
Nice.